In the cold dawn of the jet age, a needle-nosed silhouette streaked across skies from Asia to Africa. Feared by adversaries and flown by dozens of nations, the MiG-21, codenamed Fishbed, became the most produced supersonic jet fighter in history. What made this Soviet icon so enduring, and how did it shape the battles of the Cold War and beyond? This is the story of the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-21, a supersonic interceptor and fighter that entered service at the height of East-West tensions. Designed and built in the Soviet Union, the MiG-21 was a leap forward in jet technology, offering speed, agility, and simplicity. First flown in June 1955 and entering operational service in 1959, the MiG-21 would go on to serve in more than 60 air forces worldwide. Its unmistakable delta wing and slender fuselage became a symbol of Soviet aerospace engineering, and its presence on airfields from Warsaw-pact countries to non-aligned nations made it a global phenomenon. The MiG-21's origins trace back to the early 1950s, when the Soviet Union sought a lightweight, high-speed interceptor to counter Western bombers and fighters. The Mikoyan-Gurevich Design Bureau, already known for the MiG-15 and MiG-17, responded with a radical new design. Early prototypes, designated E2 and E4, experimented with swept and delta wings, but it was the E5 prototype that established the now iconic delta configuration. The MiG-21's development was marked by rapid iteration, as Soviet engineers balanced speed, climb rate, and operational simplicity. The first flight took place on June 16, 1955. After a series of refinements and state trials, the aircraft entered service in 1959 as the MiG-21F. Over the next 2 decades, the MiG-21 would evolve through more than a dozen major variants, each improving avionics, armament, and survivability. The aircraft's adaptability allowed it to remain relevant as air combat doctrine and technology advanced. At its core, the MiG-21 is defined by its lightweight structure, tailless delta wing, and powerful single turbojet engine. The aircraft measures about 14.7 meters in length, with a wingspan of 7.15 meters. Empty, it weighs just over 5,000 kilograms, enabling a maximum takeoff weight of around 9,800 kilograms. The heart of the MiG-21 is its Tamansky R-11 or later R-13 and R-25 engines, providing thrust for speeds exceeding Mach 2 over 2,100 km per hour at altitude. The delta wing, though limiting low-speed handling, offers excellent supersonic performance and rapid climb rates. The cockpit is compact, with basic instrumentation in early models and increasingly sophisticated avionics in later variants. Range is limited, with internal fuel providing around 1,200 km in ferry configuration, but external tanks can extend operational reach. The MiG-21's radar, initially the RP-21 Sapphire, was modest by Western standards, but later versions introduced more capable systems. The aircraft's simple, rugged design made it suitable for austere airfields and rapid turnaround. The MiG-21's primary role was interception, but it was also a capable dogfighter. Early models were armed with a single 23mm or 30mm cannon and 2 underwing pylons for air-to-air missiles or unguided rockets. Later variants increased weapon capacity to 4 pylons and introduced more advanced missiles, including the K-13, AA-2 Atoll, infrared-guided missile and analog to the American Sidewinder. The aircraft could also carry bombs, rocket pods, and in some cases, reconnaissance pods or electronic countermeasures. Avionics were basic in early versions, with limited radar and navigation aids, but later MiG-21s featured improved radar, radio, and even limited lookdown/shootdown capability. Despite its simplicity, the MiG-21's speed, acceleration, and climb rate made it a formidable adversary in close combat. Its small size and agility allowed skilled pilots to exploit hit-and-run tactics, especially at low altitudes. The MiG-21 saw combat in nearly every major Cold War conflict involving Soviet-aligned or supplied nations. In the Vietnam War, North Vietnamese pilots used the MiG-21 to challenge technologically superior American aircraft, scoring notable kills against F-4 Phantoms and other U.S. jets. In the Middle East, MiG-21s flew for Egypt, Syria, and Iraq in the Six-Day War, Yom Kippur War, and other Arab-Israeli conflicts, facing off against Israeli Mirage and Phantom fighters. The Indo-Pakistani Wars of 1965 and 1971 saw Indian MiG-21s achieve air superiority and ground attack successes. The type also served in the Iran-Iraq War, the Angolan Civil War, and numerous African and Asian conflicts. While losses were heavy in some engagements, the MiG-21's sheer numbers and adaptability ensured its continued relevance for decades. By the end of its production run, more than 11,000 MiG-21s had been built, making it the most produced supersonic jet aircraft in history. The MiG-21's strengths lay in its simplicity, speed, and versatility. Its lightweight design allowed for rapid acceleration and impressive climb rates, making it difficult to intercept or evade in the hands of a skilled pilot. Maintenance was straightforward, enabling operation from rough or minimally equipped airfields. The aircraft's cost-effectiveness allowed even smaller nations to field modern jet fighters, democratizing air power in the developing world. Its delta wing and small size made it a challenging target in visual range combat. The MiG-21's adaptability, evident in its many variants, ensured it could be upgraded with new weapons and avionics, extending its service life far beyond its original expectations. Despite its many strengths, the MiG-21 was not without significant limitations. Its delta wing, while excellent at high speeds, resulted in high landing and takeoff speeds, making operations hazardous for inexperienced pilots. Early radar and avionics were inferior to Western counterparts, limiting situational awareness and engagement range. The aircraft's small size restricted fuel capacity, resulting in limited range and endurance. Weapons load was modest, and early models lacked all-weather capability. In beyond visual range combat, the MiG-21 was often outclassed by more advanced Western fighters. As air combat evolved to emphasize sensors, missiles, and networked warfare, the MiG-21's basic systems became increasingly outdated. For historical context, the MiG-21 should be read as a product of a specific requirement, not as an isolated machine. It was built by Mikoyan-Gurevich for Soviet Union, with the intended role of supersonic interceptor and fighter. Its first flight is recorded as June 16, 1955, and its service entry is recorded as 1959. Those dates matter because they place the aircraft inside the technology, doctrine, budget pressure, and threat assumptions of its era. The technical story also depends on how the airframe connected structure, propulsion, systems, and crew workload. Key recorded details include engine choice, wing layout, range, speed, radar or sensor fit, weapons integration, avionics, and maintainability. In practical terms, an aircraft is never just an engine or a wing. Range, speed, radar, sensors, targeting equipment, weapons, avionics, fuel capacity, maintenance access, and mission planning all decide whether the design can do useful work repeatedly. The operational record of the MiG-21 is tied to Vietnam War, Indo-Pakistani wars, Arab-Israeli conflicts, Iran-Iraq War. Those examples show how the aircraft performed away from brochures and test figures. Combat service, patrol work, reconnaissance, training, deterrence, and deployment tempo all reveal different truths. A design that looks strong on paper still depends on crews, spare parts, weather, basing, intelligence, rules of engagement, and the ability to return for another sortie. The main strength of the MiG-21 was mission focus, useful performance for its era, and adaptability within its intended role. That strength did not mean perfection. It meant the aircraft gave commanders a useful answer to a real problem. The best way to judge it is to ask what mission it made easier, what earlier limitation it solved, and whether operators kept trusting it after the first years of service. The main weakness and limitation of the MiG-21 was cost, maintenance burden, survivability limits, and eventual obsolescence as threats and technology changed. Its later status is best summarized as mostly retired, with limited remaining use in some countries. Every military aircraft eventually needs newer sensors, newer missiles, changed budgets, aging structures, and different doctrine. That is why the final verdict has to balance reputation against evidence, what the aircraft promised, what it actually delivered, and what it cost to keep useful. A final practical point is sustainment. The MiG-21 required trained pilots, ground crews, inspections, spare parts, fuel, weapons handling, and mission planning before it could produce a useful sortie. That support system is part of the aircraft's real history. Performance figures explain what a machine might do once airborne, but readiness, repair time, training quality, safety margins, and upgrade paths explain whether an air arm could keep using it year after year. Yet, the legacy of the MiG-21 endures. It democratized supersonic flight, shaped air battles across continents, and became a symbol of Cold War aviation. Even as most air forces retire their MiG-21 fleets, a handful of upgraded fishbeds continue to serve in limited roles. The MiG-21 story is one of innovation, adaptation, and global impact, a testament to the power of simplicity in military design. If you enjoyed this deep dive into aviation history, subscribe for more stories from the skies.